Aaron, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing alright.
So what brings you in?
Frustration. I'm just frustrated.
With what?
My mother, she once again has agreed to watch the kids, and it's very difficult. I'm a single father raising 2 daughters by myself.
How old are your daughters?
They're 4.
Okay, you're twins.
Yeah.
It's exciting and hard. That sounds really challenging. And you're all by yourself in it?
Yep. I'm trying to raise them by myself. My mother said she'd help so that I could work extra hours and try to help pay the bills, and so I left them over at her place. And 30 minutes after she's started washing them, she's done. She can't handle it. It's too much. Gotta hurry up and come home. Except now I'm in the middle of work. So
Right.
what do?
Yeah. It seems like it's really confusing and difficult situation because you have to provide for your family. You're the only provider. But then you also have to be there for your children. You have this responsibility of taking care of them at night, So you're kind of in a no-win situation. So I imagine that would be pretty frustrating if she started almost immediately calling you back up. So has she helped you? Is it your dad too? Your mommy and your dad?
Yeah, my mom and my dad.
Okay.
I mean, it's just frustrating because I spend $10,000 a year on daycare for them so that I can work during the day, and sometimes I need to work after hours when the daycare is closed, and
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really frustrating because I can't seem to get a proper commitment out of them. I mean, I'll call them up and be like, "Can you do it or not?" And then they'll say, "Yep, we got it. No worries." So then I'll bring the kids over there and I'll go to work. But they can't just call me up 30 minutes after the kids are at their house and they've spilled a drink or whatever it is that's got them all worked up. I mean, I can't just say, "See you later."
Yeah. Well, because I'm sure your employer doesn't appreciate that, having last-minute notice as to whether or not you can come to work. I mean, that would be a difficult work situation for anyone. And then you have the added stress of not only the situation with being a single father, but also having conflict with your parents. So, I mean, what do you think's happening? Do you think that they're just getting overwhelmed, like they want to commit to this, but then it's just too much, or what do you think's happening there?
I feel like my mother has this idea of who she's supposed to be, and, so she thinks she's obligated to watch the grandkids, so she'll commit to something based on this idea.
Because that's what a good grandparent does, right? Is they watch their grandchildren.
Yeah, and so then she'll get halfway into it and realize that she can't handle babies,
Right.
I mean, it's just too much. She's just not a baby person.
Right.
Which I can understand, I'm not that much of a baby person myself, but...
Well, it gives you a little bit of empathy in the situation at least, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard taking care of 2 little kids.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Well, that just sounds really difficult. And so have you tried talking to your parents about this?
Well, I have, but, usually the minute I talk to them about it, Mom runs off and gets Dad to come out, and she can't handle confrontation, and so then I end up talking secondhand through my dad, and that's just never gets anywhere. So usually, I don't know if this is, usually I just retreat at that point. It's just take the kids and I'll figure out other arrangements. And we'll just kind of retreat for a while. And then after a while, Mom will start calling me on the phone again going,
Right.
where's the grandkid? Blah, blah, blah.
Because you're still a grandparent. There's
Yeah.
still roles to fill, right?
Yeah.
So, you talked about how your mom would run off and use your dad to kind of handle the situation and you had to go through him. I mean, how does that make you feel that it's difficult to get her to even just sit down and have a one-on-one with you?
It's not that difficult to have a one-on-one as long as there's absolutely no way she feels like there's conflict. So, you can talk about real situations and real things as long as there's no conflict between her.
Okay, so as long as everyone's in agreement, we can have like these deep conversations about life and about how things should be, as long as you're on the same side.
Right.
Right? So, do you think that just the fact of being on a different side of her just makes her want to run for the hills?
Yeah.
Does that describe what's going on pretty accurately?
Pretty much. Yeah, she avoids conflict. She doesn't like it. She doesn't like anybody to say that she's wrong or that she might have handled that scenario wrong. And if you allow her, she'll spend 2 hours explaining to you why you've just misunderstood her. And really, she is correct.
Wow. It just sounds really exhausting and frustrating, because it's like, how do you even go forward with resolving the conflict if you can't even get somebody to have a conversation with you about the disagreement, right?
Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of times I just retreat. It's not even worth it.
Yeah. But that's not getting you very far, because there's still this huge disagreement, and so it may excuse me may resolve itself until next time, and then meanwhile there's a mountain slowly being built of hurt feelings
Yeah.
upon hurt feelings upon hurt feelings.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, those aren't just going to go away for us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't go anywhere. Ignoring them doesn't do any good, right? So, I guess what I think that we should work on maybe is trying to find a way to handle the next time this happens. Like, what can we do differently? What can you say differently that's going to maybe get some sort of conflict resolution? I mean, do you have any ideas about maybe something you could try next time?
No. I feel like I've exhausted everything.
Well, what if maybe you said, just try to address the issue, and I mean, if she's avoiding confrontation, and in your opinion is she doesn't like to be pointed out when she has flaws or is wrong, just saying, I really wish that you could talk with me about this. Can we just talk about this right now? It hurts my feelings that you involved Dad. So what's your dad's response to all of this?
He just, tries to play the role of a husband. So, he's always got his wife's back.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. And sometimes I think I can see it in his eyes where he'll, he doesn't really think she's right, but it doesn't matter to him because that's his wife, So
Is that something that you feel is a right thing to do? You feel like that's a good virtue of your father's?
I think
Be
for
kind
I think for the most part, yes, but you know, occasionally it'd be nice to have him not necessarily turn on her, but you know, maybe say something that maybe might make her think that she can't run from every little conflict
well,
for
it
the
seems
rest
like
of her life.
it'd be nice for you to feel as though he had your back as well, right?
Yeah,
Because she's got somebody in her corner, but there's nobody in your corner. And, you know, I imagine that would feel very lonely.
yeah.
So have these kind of issues, this avoiding confrontation, I know it's happening now with the babysitting with your girls, but this sounds like something that's been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's pretty much how everything's worked all through childhood, you know. Usually, anytime mom has been displeased with any of my behavior, or, you know, I'm displeased with her behavior, or, you know, some type of conflict arises, she usually gets all worked up and says that she's gonna get Dad to intervene, or tells me to wait till Dad gets home, or she'll send me off to Grandpa's house
Right.
till Dad gets home.
Always somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately it sounds like that's her major coping mechanism for dealing with stress and confrontation. It's kind of like that urge to flee, that urge to put it off, to have somebody else deal with it. And, you know, a lot of people do that. That's how a lot of people deal with stress and anxiety. Unfortunately, that kind of leaves you just stuck over there in the corner, not being dealt with. And, you know, I imagine that, even, especially for a young child, that would really make you feel, what?
Hurt, angry, alone. You know, sometimes I wonder what's wrong with me that, you know, she can't deal with her own child.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like we could work together to try to find a plan, I guess, to formulate a plan of what can you do the next time this same kind of conflict emerges. Because it seems like there's just been this long pattern throughout your life of this is how Mom and I interact, and this is how Mom and Dad and I work through issues, which is really not working through them. But it seems like it's really developed a pattern in your family life. And I think that we can work together to try to figure out a way to kind of break up this pattern so that some of these issues get resolved. So is that something that you'd be interested in working with me on?
Yeah.